My wife's lawyer told me they dropped the child support increase if I agreed to give up my parental rights. At first, I said no. The thought made me sick. But then I asked my son if that's what he truly wanted. He looked me dead in the eye and said, yes. No hesitation, no crack in his voice. Just yes. My name is Elijah Carter. And that moment, that right there was the most bone-chilling moment of my life. Not the surgeries I've had, not the nights I've gone hungry, not even the years I spent drowning in alcohol. No, this was worse. My own son, the boy I raised with love and sacrifice, told me he didn't want me to be his father anymore. It all started when I was just 21. Her name was Rhea Summers, my high school sweetheart. She was wild, beautiful, magnetic, the kind of girl you dream about and then somehow wake up next to, still stunned it's real. We were reckless and in love, or at least I thought so. She got pregnant during our sophomore year of college. I dropped out the minute I found out. Not because I was running, but because I was trying to be a man. I wanted to step up, do the right thing. I married her in a courthouse with walls that smelled like cheap Lysol and regret. I wore a suit that hung off my shoulders like I borrowed it from a scarecrow, but I didn't care. I was going to be a dad. That meant something to me. We moved into a grimy apartment above a laundromat where the radiator hissed like it had an attitude and the ceiling dripped when it rained. And still, when our son Gabriel was born, it was like the world cracked open and made space just for me and him. I worked whatever jobs I could scrape up, washing dishes, delivering packages, shoveling snow in the bitter cold just to keep the heat on. I ran on fumes. But when I walked through the door and Gabe ran into my arms, when his tiny fingers wrapped around mine like they belonged there, that exhaustion vanished. He was my world for a few years. Rhea and I tried. We tried to hold it together, but the pressure crushed us. She became cold, distant. I told myself it was just stress or postpartum blues. But then one night, I came home early from a shift and found her curled up on the couch with another man. She wasn't just cheating. She was looking at him the way she used to look at me, and that killed something inside me. I filed for divorce the very next week. Gabriel was 7. We were granted joint custody, 50-50ths. It wasn't perfect, but I lived for my time with him. We'd build blanket forts, make s'mores in the microwave, read every single bedtime story 3 times because he always wanted to hear it. Just one more time, Dad. He'd fall asleep on my chest and I'd whisper prayers into the dark, begging the universe to let me keep him forever. He was everything. But life has a way of ripping everything away. Right when you let your guard down. When Gabe was about 11, Rhea started dating this guy named Miles, a tech consultant with more money than empathy. This man was slick charters, cruises, Disney resorts, private jets. Suddenly, Gabe was whisked into a world I couldn't compete with. I couldn't fight. Yachts with bedtime stories. Couldn't outshine helicopter rides with trips to the park. Slowly, Gabe began to fade. He started canceling weekends, then full weeks, then holidays. My little boy became a guest, then a stranger. I'd ask if something was wrong and he'd shrug, barely looking up from his phone. I just have more fun at Mom's. That night, after he went to sleep, I cried like I hadn't since I was a kid. Over time, he stopped coming altogether. I called. He ignored. I texted. Nothing. Birthdays went by in silence. Rhea told me I was pressuring him, that he needed space. My parents were heartbroken. My dad had spent months carving a wooden model garage for Gabe. It just sat in their attic, collecting dust, like a tombstone. I got desperate. I hired a lawyer. We filed a petition for parental alienation. I thought surely the court would see how wrong this was, but the judge sided with Rhea, said Gabe was old enough to choose where he lived. On top of that, I was ordered to pay more in child support. Not only had I lost my son, I was paying to stay out of his life. Then came the call. Rhea's lawyer said they had an offer. If I signed away my parental rights, they'd waive the child support increase. I couldn't even speak. How could I, a father, just give up his child like a bad investment? I refused. But then they asked for a meeting, one final conversation between me and Gabe. They said I should hear it from him. We sat across from each other in a cold conference room, both lawyers present, papers already printed. Gabe looked older than 12 designer shoes, smartwatch, perfect haircut. I leaned forward, tried to hold onto something real. Is this really what you want? I asked. Do you want me to give up being your dad? He looked me straight in the eyes. Yes, just yes, no tremble, no doubt. I felt like concrete had filled my lungs. I couldn't breathe. This boy, I held him through his fevers, taught him to ride a bike, read to him every night, looked at me like I was a stranger. I signed the papers. I didn't go home that night. I drove for hours until I couldn't drive anymore, parked in a grocery store lot and drank until I blacked out. That night marked the beginning of my collapse. Depression wrapped around me like chains. I quit my job, lost my apartment, moved in with my brother, drank cheap whiskey like it was medicine. I'd stare at photos of Gabe until my eyes blurred, wondering what I had done so wrong. One night I overdosed. I nearly didn't make it. That was the turning point. I checked myself into rehab, crawled through hell to get clean. I went to therapy, started jogging, held onto sobriety like it was a rope pulling me back to the surface. I found work again, moved back to my hometown, started over with the pieces I had left. And that's when I met Valerie, a pediatric nurse with this quiet, unwavering strength. She had a son, Alex. He was 11, the exact age Gabe had been when I lost him. I was terrified of getting close, but Alex was different. He was curious, funny, kind. We bonded over fishing, comic books, and the world's worst dad jokes. He made me laugh again. He made me feel like I had something to offer. When Alex turned 18, he came to me with tears in his eyes and said, "You've been more of a father to me than anyone. I want your last name." I broke down sobbing. That was the day he became my son, not just by law but in every way that matters. Valerie and I had twin girls a few years later. I became the dad who never missed a recital, never missed a soccer game. I built the treehouse I'd never finished for Gabe. I made pancakes every Saturday and tucked them in every night. I loved them with everything I had. I finally felt whole. Then, 13 years later, there was a knock at our door. It was Gabriel, 26 years old, flowers in hand, nervous smile. "Hi, Dad," he said, like we were picking up where we left off. I said nothing, just closed the door. But the past doesn't die quietly. My sister begged me to hear him out for closure. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at a cafe. He looked like a man now, but his eyes still had that boyish flicker. "I was young," he said. "I didn't know what I was doing. Miles left Mom when I was 19. I haven't had a dad in years. I miss you." I looked at him. "I'm sorry that happened," I said. "But I'm not your father anymore. You made that choice," he pleaded. But I stood up, told him to take care of himself, and walked out. And the strangest thing, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel broken. I felt free. Free from the weight I'd carried for years. The guilt, the grief, the endless nights spent wondering where I went wrong. I'd made peace with it. Today, I'm a father to 3 beautiful children, a husband to the most incredible woman I've ever known. My life is full in ways I never thought possible. Sometimes I think about the boy I lost, but I don't ache for him anymore. I learned something that day in the cafe. Being a father isn't about biology. It's about presence, consistency, sacrifice, love. Gabe made a choice, and I made one too. I chose peace. Weeks passed. I thought the chapter was closed. But then came a Facebook friend request from Gabriel. A message, "I know you said goodbye, but I was wondering if I could meet my siblings." Just once. I didn't respond. Then Valerie got a call from an unknown number. She answered, thinking it was the school. It wasn't. It was Ria. Apparently, Gabe had told her everything. Now she wanted in. 14 years of silence, and suddenly she wanted to heal old wounds. Valerie handed me the phone, uneasy. Ria's voice was calm. To calm Eli, she said, "It's been a long time. I think Gabe reaching out is a sign. Maybe it's time we all talk. As a family, from the woman who erased me from my son's life with one legal swipe. Now she wanted to be the peacemaker. I bit my tongue. "You're being unfair to him," she said. "He was just a child. He didn't know. And you," I snapped, "you knew. You watched it happen." Silence. I'm not interested in reliving that pain, I said. Not for nostalgia. Not for guilt. And definitely not for some fake reunion. Please, Eli. You've rebuilt. We're not trying to ruin that. Gabriel just wants to be part of it. No, I said. He had a father, the man you married. The man with the yachts and the flights and the cameras. Let him reconnect with that life, not mine. I hung up. A few days later, Gabe showed up again. At Alex's college basketball game. He stood at the edge of the bleachers, eyes scanning until he found me. He didn't come closer. Maybe he felt the tension in Valeri's stare. Maybe he noticed the way I placed my hand on our daughter's shoulder, subtle, protective. After the game, he approached us in the lot. Please, Dad, just give me a chance. Alex stepped forward. Voice steady. You had your chance. You gave it up. I didn't say anything. I loaded my kids into the car, and we drove away. That was the last time he tried to see us face to face. A year passed. Then a letter came. Handwritten, from Gabriel. He didn't beg. He didn't guilt trip. He said, I spent so many years chasing things that didn't matter. Money, status. I thought being close to wealth meant I was loved. But I was just bought. And I lost the only person who ever loved me for nothing. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted to say thank you for the years you gave me. You were a better father than I deserved. I read it twice. Then I burned it. Because here's the truth. I forgave him a long time ago. But that doesn't mean I have to let him back in. Some wounds go too deep. Forgiveness isn't an invitation, it's a boundary. It means learning to live around the scar, not pretending it's not there. I don't hate Rhea. I don't hate Gabe. I just refuse to let them undo what I spent years rebuilding. I have a wife who stood beside me through every storm. A son who chose me. Two daughters who run into my arms every day yelling Daddy, like I hung the moon. That's my family. That's the life I protect. Closure isn't always a hug. Sometimes it's a locked door, a quiet goodbye, and the peace of never needing to open it again. I hope Gabriel finds his path, but mine no longer crosses his.